just so cute. I love Joel.
I'm a big Joel fan. Canada loves you. Your house guests love you. Did a great job.
It's okay to be a little weird because we all have our weird quirks and stuff. And
Joel's the best. Joel, you're the winner, and I will shout loudest. Don't you worry.
Joel's a really smart guy.
Let's hear it, please, for Joel.
What's up, everyone? My name is Joel LaFave. Another episode of Celebrity Big Brother has come to a close, so I am going to unpack everything that went down, that has transpired in the Celebrity Big Brother house on the edited television show. And with me tonight to talk about it is a man who knows a thing or two about Big Brother. He played in Big Brother 13. He loves his bacon. He loves his Tory spelling. He made it all the way to the final three. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adam Poch. Adam, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Joel. Big fan of Big Brother Canada. And as you know, when we met, I told you I was a big fan of you. So for me, this is pretty cool to get to break down the game with one of my favorite players from Big Brother Canada.
It's an absolute pleasure for you to say that, Adam. It really means a lot. And I know how big of a fan you were going into it. I was a huge fan as well. And for us to experience and to go as far as both of us did in the game, I know was a dream come true for me, and I know was a dream come true for you as well. So
yeah, unfortunately, I'm just going to get right into it. Unfortunately, one of the biggest super fans, two of the biggest super fans in the house, are in the Celebrity Big Brother house. Do not seem like they're going to get much further because they're already starting to pop shots at each other. Let's just face it, Celebrity Big Brother is now just Omarosa versus Shannon. That's the show. They shouldn't call it Celebrity Big Brother. They should just call it Omarosa versus Shannon.
Did you expect that to happen, I guess, early on when you saw right away Omarosa being like, none of us would suspect it? And I was like, wow, this is actually like a really savvy move by both of them, because who would expect both of these two to go together? Did you expect it to crumble as early as it has in this game?
You know what? I did not expect it to crumble this early. I knew at some point it was going to crumble because you have, again, two huge super fans and two like big personalities. Obviously Shannon is more, PC versus Omarosa as far as all that's concerned. But no, these two are both very strong, opinionated women that, fight for whatever cause that they're working on at the time. So, they're fighting for Big Brother. And I thought, it was amazing, the two of them hooking up. They could have steamrolled through everybody, but you see it on Big Brother all the time when you have that many big personalities, that many strong people. Everybody's just trying to get a little edge on each other. And, it's not surprising that it happened, but it is surprising that it happened this quick.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I'm surprised or not, because I did expect the game to go really, really fast in a situation like this, because it's such a fast-forwarded sort of version of Big Brother that me and you aren't used to. We're used to like, okay, this is a marathon. Let's take our time with this and wait. But so I'm not surprised that there are some people just like playing super hard right now. But at the same time, when you're playing as hard and aggressive, in my opinion, as Shannon is right now, and I was really high on Shannon at the start of the season, it's only a matter of time, I feel like, before people start catching on to that and start getting really threatened, and then things flip around really quickly. How would you assess Shannon's game thus far and her position right now?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I think you and I, after living through what we lived through, wish it was a 3-week version of the game, because 75 days on my season, I forget how long your season was, but there's a lot of downtime, and on this there is no downtime. Plus, not only that, and I hate to say it this way, but $250,000 to these people is not really much, but they all want it. These people are celebrities for a reason, because they do things. Money is usually the motivator. So Shannon came into this house. Yeah, she was the super fan. She came in knowing this game inside and out. I've met her. She introduced herself to me. That's how much of a super fan she is. I'm like, of course I know who you are. But I feel like once she got in and started playing, it's really hard. And we see this too from super fans that actually play the regular Big Brothers, that you either have super fans that sit back and do nothing early, like me, or you have super fans that try to like win the game in the first week. And unfortunately with Shannon, you know, there is a saying, you cannot win the game in 1 week, but you could lose it in 1 week. And Shannon, you know, by winning that first HOH, by winning that veto with just not just a 10-letter word, she won with the biggest word ever used. She has made herself a big threat. At the same time, you know, she needs Omarosa still in the house to, you know, kind of balance it out and kind of keep people going after her. But yeah, I feel like she would have been in a much better spot had she just like been a little bit more humble pie. I feel like she didn't need to do the James move. She did not need to make the James move. Going against Keisha this early, yeah, I see why she did it. She was afraid that Keisha had Chuck in her pocket, but Chuck, he wasn't winning anything. He was, you know, he kind of reminded me of season 10 Jerry, just wandering around, just, you know, not knowing what to do, not knowing who to talk to or what to do. So I felt like Shannon made a move that did not need to be made, despite how fast this game is going. You know, flipping the script week 1 is never a good sign.
So that's interesting you say that, because our season, the vote flipped considerably in the first few weeks, but it was more so the people leading the charge, and Shannon was definitely, from what we saw on the show, leading the charge with getting the vote flip. But since you mentioned the vote flip, we'll start with that a little bit. So it was a 7-1 vote. Obviously, it was sort of a last-minute thing, an 11th hour thing where things flipped around. James was the obvious target because, in my opinion, he made probably one of the worst first impressions of any of the house guests that walk in there, and that's a very, very big deal when you walk in there. But in your opinion, you said it was the wrong move for Shannon. It was not necessary for Shannon to flip the vote at that point. But what of the other 6 people, do you think that was the right move for any of those other people to flip? Or do you think they just did it because they were like, well, Shannon said so, and then Shannon can look like the bad person, which leaves us in a decent spot?
Yeah, I kind of feel like, you know, like I said, it's a Shannon versus Omarosa show. Like, these other people are just there. These other people are just, and it's good for them that they're just there. So they can make these big moves. They can make these big power shifts and not have the blood on their hands. I mean, Omarosa came out, you know, when Shannon came out to talk to Omarosa and want to talk as a group, and they pulled it to, you know, her aside. These other people are, right now, it didn't matter what they did. Did it help their game? Did it hurt their game? It didn't matter. That was a non-issue for anybody else's game. And also remember, the vote should have been 6-2. Meta World Peace, God bless your soul. I vote to evict. You say the person's name.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, everybody that's on Big Brother, if you're a recruit, you at least watch one season before you get into that house. Like, Meta, did they not tell you to watch the show? And, you know, they showed Jenny Buss coaching him before he went in. Did she not like tell him just like the ground rules? I mean, tonight he even asked what a backdoor was.
Yeah.
So to answer the original question, it was a great move on their part because they got to you know, let a couple other people rise to the top and knock each other off, and they can just float by for the next few weeks, despite making a big move. It wasn't just Shannon that made the move; it was all these other people. But Shannon's got all the blood on her hands for it. And as you see, even now Ross is, you know, questioning keeping her around much longer. So,
yeah, and it's obvious to both of us and to everybody that is watching that Meta World Peace knows absolutely nothing. And I honestly don't think he cares about the game at all. But do you think that the fact that he is so sort of aloof and the fact that he absolutely knows nothing and seems to me like didn't even really try to even watch any episodes of the show or try to know a thing or two about the show, do you think that can almost like work in his favor? The fact that he's so just like, you know, naive and not knowing about anything, that people are just like, well, you know what? Like, why would we want Meta World Peace to get out of this game?
Right, right. Well, if people watching watch Big Brother OTT over the top, there was a guy on there, Justin, and Justin knew less than nothing about this game. Although I think Metal knows even less than Justin did. And yeah, they kept him around. Then Meta, wanting to go home, you want to go home. That's easy to keep this guy around because there's going to come a time, a double eviction where you don't know what to do. You don't want to, upset anybody, and you just send him home at that point. But although, these people are pretty greedy, so I think if Meta World Peace sticks around for like, 3 or 4 more evictions, he'll start getting in his head like, hey, I might have a chance to actually win this thing and turn it on. Again, at that point, who knows what the heck is going to be left in the house? Who knows, what other twists are coming our way? What other twists are coming their way? And just his naivety of the whole thing, I think, is kind of enduring. And, he's not a threat at all. People want to keep him around. But he might surprise you at the end.
Do you actually think he has? I mean, there is still a week and a half to 2 weeks to go in the game. Do you think that Meta World Peace actually has a legitimate shot, given how the jury is, right? And that the fact that the jury goes home and then watches the show, and that Meta World Peace is just kind of like, whatever, vote to evict me and vote to get me out. I want to get out of here. If people are like that, and people obviously don't want to get him out right now because he's not posing a threat to anybody, is he going to be able to articulate something like that, or is he even going to try to articulate something like that when he's at the end?
I think that would be one of the best speeches that we've ever seen. Although my homegirl Gina Marie, I was really looking forward to her speech in Big Brother 15, like how she can even, put it into words what she did compared to what Andy did, but just
right.
Not even compared to what Andy did, but just put it into words what she did. This is we haven't seen this in season 2 of the U.S. Big Brother, where the jury gets to go home and season 3, where the jury gets to go home and actually like watch everything, and they'll be able to digest it all. But I think, again, just him being a solid, just stand-up guy, just like shooting straight, not screwing people over. I think maybe at the end they'll look at it. It depends on how everybody else goes home, but they might look at him like, you know what, he outplayed us all, and he deserves the money. But I don't think he'll get there, but I definitely think he'll be in the top 5 or so.
Yeah, I think he's definitely not in any danger anytime soon, and I could definitely see him going to finale at the very least. And then again, this is coming from somebody right now. If I were to assess it, I don't think that he's got much of a shot to win it, but this is coming from the same guy who, when I saw the first couple weeks of Big Brother 19, I was like, okay, Josh is a guaranteed second place. There's no way Josh is going to be anything but second place. He's a perfect goat to get to the end. And then I was surprised, like a lot of people, and then some other people weren't so much surprised. So you never know with Big Brother. It's such an unpredictable game. So
again, and the best thing about this season is it is so short. We have another eviction coming up tomorrow night. We have I'm sure a couple double evictions coming up. So, it's good. This is just a shot in the arm that we need going into Big Brother Canada. So, now it's like officially Big Brother season. We have the celebrity, we have Canada, then we have the U.S. I know if people that are watch the overseas ones, there is no such thing as a non-Big Brother season going on. But it's, I like it. I like it. I think the cast is great. I think that they did a great job plucking some super fans, some casual fans, some non-fans. I mean, let's face it, like James, I don't think James even knew what Big Brother was before maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when they, pulled him out of, boy retirement and put him into the house. But, this is like, it's a regular cast of people. It's just, we just happen to know who they are. By the way, if anybody's watching and thinks I'm like bored and I keep looking up, I have the feeds on right now, And Meta World Peace and Shannon have been in the gym working out together and talking this whole time. So I'm dying to find out what they're talking about. If she's working another angle with Meta and trying to get, another sub alliance going on. But meanwhile, in the HOH room, you have Ross's Angels, I guess you would want to call them. Marissa, Arianda, and Brittany. Brandy, along with James, and they're holding court. Sorry, I just went off on the tangent there, but
Ross's Angels or Adam's Angels? Who's a better alliance?
Definitely Ross's Angels are much better because I feel like he could beat his Angels. My Angels, they would have killed me.
Okay, so you mentioned Ross. Ross is also somebody who has emerged as a big... I mean, I'm not terribly surprised that Ross has stepped out and played as hard as he has in the Lex in the Wild, but he's done it, I think, a little bit more subtly than Shannon has done it. We saw after the eviction, Ross talked about making a Final Four, made a Final Four with James, with Shannon, with Marissa. And then later on, he also talked about, well, that could be potentially my Final Four, but then, I've also got Brandy, and I've also got Ariadna as well in my pocket. So how do you feel about the position that Ross is in right now, and how has he been able to be seemingly in good with everybody, but not also seen as like somebody who wants to be taken out in the short term anyways?
Right. I was talking about season 15 before. I feel like he's playing a very Andy game where, everybody talks to him. Everybody, and Ross has the ability just to like talk and listen to people. And like you even saw in the, the fluff clip about with the White House and everything, like he asked genuine questions to people. To get them to talk about themselves. Let's face it, that's what he does for a living.
Sure.
So I feel like his ability to do that, like he gets these people to give him information without them realizing that he's taking the information from them. So I feel like that's how he's staying in such good shape right now, because, and he said it too, like this is an easy week for him to be HOH. He goes after the obvious targets. And whoever stays this week, I don't feel like they're going to come back after Ross. They're going to go after Shannon. So, he picked the right week to be HOH. I mean, he didn't pick it, but yeah. Shannon was smart to tell James to throw it to him, because James, of course, would have done something and got more people upset at him, and the fact that the two of them look like they're together. Played bad for Shannon. So it's good that Shannon got Ross to do it, although now Ross is thinking, maybe I should get rid of her.
Yeah, but I agree with you to a certain extent. I think that definitely Ross being HOH, at least from Shannon's perspective, seems like a better move than James, although I don't think James was coming after Shannon if James is HOH. In fact, I don't even think James was going to go after Shannon if he had made that deal that Omarosa shot down in the very first episode. But that's sort of in the past right now. The interesting thing is what I was kind of scratching my head about with Shannon, especially with that particular deal and with all her little chats and stuff, she made it an obvious thing at the start of the competition about hey, let's make sure to pick Omarosa and stuff. And then she did the same thing where she was talking very quietly, sort of if you watched Survivor, you saw Chrissy do that quite a bit last season, where it's just suddenly oh, how's it going? Oh, it's going pretty. It kind of I know they're trying to talk under their breath and make it not obvious, but the fact that they're looking so awkward and sort of deer in the headlights look in front of everybody kind of makes it obvious. Did Shannon play it off wrong in your opinion?
Completely. I mean, the way she was even doing the conversation, you have to know where she is. You have to know, if you're going to talk about somebody, get a little further away and talk a little lower. But Shannon, again, a preseason pick of mine. My top 2 picks were Shannon and Chuck. So you see how well I'm doing there. But I feel like Shannon just she almost got HOH-itis last week, and she wasn't even HOH anymore. But the fact that she won the HOH, won the veto, and like I feel like she just playing too hard. Like, yeah, you want to tell people to go after Omarosa, make it look less obvious. Don't talk that close to her.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that people that haven't played Big Brother like we have, I say that so conceitedly, but like on TV, if it looks like you have like 10 feet from somebody, you actually have like 2 feet. Like the houses are really smaller than they look like on TV. The backyard area is way smaller than it looks. So, it's like on the side view mirror, objects and mirrors are closer than they appear. Like in the Big Brother house, like if you're talking about somebody, even if they're in the next room, you have to be so quiet about it because it's so like they're right there. So, Shannon did a lot wrong and thinks that she's doing everything right.
Yeah, and at the same time, when you're a super fan of the show, your mind is always racing a mile a minute, whether you're like in the running to be on Big Brother, and then when you get on Big Brother, your mind is always racing like 1 or 2, sometimes 10 steps ahead. And I feel like Shannon, for somebody who is such a big super fan, why wouldn't she think like before the competitions? We super fans always have conversations, whether it's before an HOH, before a veto, and they have little subtle things about like, hey, would you take me off if I won veto? Or hey, what do you think? Should you go for this competition? Should we throw it? Those sort of downtimes when you have when you're waiting for the competitions to begin, and God knows how long you're going to be waiting a lot of times, is to me the time when people should have those conversations about like, hey, if it's down to me and you, I'll let you have it. Hey, if it's one of those knockout ones, because when you're a super fan, you're always thinking about that, right? Am I right or no?
No, 100%. I mean, we even planned it out. If it's a majority rules, just keep answering B. Just answer B every time.
Yeah.
This way, as long as we have a majority to answer B, we'll get, and then once we get everybody out that we want to get out, then we just start, answering on our own. So yeah, again, like you would think that Shannon would have done that, but as you also know, it's so much easier outside to think about what's going on when you're actually playing it. Like, I don't know if she had the time to even explain to them about how a knockout would work. So the fact that like it came up, like, oh yeah, now I got to tell them like how to do this, but just like pull them aside or just be like, wait for the numbers to be picked and just at that point, say, but like we saw that too on the regular Big Brother. I forget which one it was, but where they're like, pointing like, go for them.
Yeah.
You definitely got to be more subtle when you're playing Big Brother.
Yeah, and the more you sort of are thinking about things in the house, there's always like 1 or 2 little subtle things that sometimes escape your mind, especially when you're playing as hard and as fast as Shannon is right now. It's probably just one of those things where she's like, okay, do I have this person? Do I have this person? Make a side deal here. I'm at this position with these people. So it's probably one of those things that just sort of like slipped her mind, I would assume. I had the luxury in my season of when I planned that rock, paper, scissors for that Locked Lips HOH, we didn't actually, Mitch and I didn't, we planned to win it, the whole thing, but we never really decided until there was sort of a lucky break in between. So we definitely forgot about that step. And then there was a point where there was down to about 5 or 10 balls left where they stopped the competition. And then we happened to get a bird's eye view because we were on the opposite side and we could see all the balls. So we were like, crap, we're kicking the crap. Well, we didn't say crap, but we were like, we're kicking everybody's butt in this. We're probably going to win it. And then we were lucky enough to have a conversation to be like, let's do it like this, but let's not make it obvious. So Mitch, you pick scissors, I pick rock. But that was just an unfortunate thing. So things slip your mind a lot of times when you're in the house. And I'm assuming that something like that probably escaped Shannon's mind when she was, before she decided to have that conversation. So we'll see.
Yeah, but still, walk further away.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's sort of a 101 thing. Walk further away. Or, you know what, I don't know that she even needed to say that to everybody right there, because it seems to me like it was pretty obvious at that point following the eviction that Omarosa and Keisha are sort of the outsiders, and then maybe a number 3 option would be Meta World Peace, just in case, but it seems to me like it was sort of a common knowledge thing, so I don't even know that it was necessary. I think everybody there was probably of the same mindset, but you never know.
Right. But that's just Shannon like overplaying it. That's just her
for sure
overplaying it, and it's unfortunate. But can we talk about someone else? Can we talk about like Marissa?
Yes, let's talk about Marissa, because well, let's get your take on Marissa first of all.
No, I think she's another one. I think she's another one in really good shape right now. Like, she has good relationships with everybody. And she's somebody that, also knows the game pretty well. She's a, big fan of the show. So I feel like, that's the type of game that Shannon should have been playing. But I like the way Marissa's playing. She was not like a preseason pick of mine, but once they started playing, like, I really like how she's doing it. Another one, like, just listening. Getting people to talk about themselves. And, it's kind of cute. Like, she's got a little, like, crush on Meta World Peace. And she's got him, like, it's like a side down the road alliance. So she's definitely setting herself up in great shape right now.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that Marissa personally is in the best position in the house, because she's well liked by everybody. She's not making a lot of moves, but you don't necessarily need to be making so many huge moves at this stage of the game. She's in good with everybody. She's got that tight thing with Shannon, because they did that Scary Movie or something together, and they have a bond with that. So in the odd chance that Shannon wins, her and Ross,
Dancing with the Stars together.
They're on Dancing with the Stars together. Ross and Marissa seem to be very tight. I don't see anybody mentioning Marissa's name, and I think she's charming enough and cunning enough where, if it comes down to it, she could potentially, as a superfan, win some of these competitions, these memory ones down the stretch that we're going to be getting. So I personally think that Marissa is right now in a prime position to win. Now the question is going to be down the road, when there is a limited amount of people left to pick from, is she going to be able to pull out a victory or two to ensure that she gets to that final 2 position? That's going to be, I think, the biggest hurdle for her, but she's, in my opinion, has absolutely nothing to worry about right now.
Hey, I hate saying this as the larger person also, but if she keeps it, to her and Ross, she's in pretty good shape there, because, I'm sorry, Ross, but, as we saw tonight, Marissa still has some dance moves left in her, so she is light on her feet. I think that the two of them are really good. And I also kind of like if the two of them kept Brandy around, just as, keep her around as the wild card. Like, they both need to make sure they're solid with her, because Brandy at some point will piss off someone. And
she already has a few people.
Well, she already has, but right now it's like she's not even near the top of the, annoying list. Although I cannot wait for Omarosa to be out of the house and then watch the diary room from the other day where Brandy was like, "I'm wearing her shoes. She's my bitch." I feel like as we know, some people go out of the house and then they watch the show back and they hear some of the things that are said in the diary room and they take it to heart. This I'm really curious to see. How the after effect of the show will happen.
Well, do you think that is going to have an effect, because it's a unique style of play, the one that sort of many people think screwed Danielle Reyes over way back in Big Brother 3? Do you think that format is something that could come back and bite her if she gets to a final 2? Because I could very well see her being dragged to a final 2.
Yeah, no, I can see her being dragged to a final 2, but I feel like... definitely, the season 3 curse of the better player not winning because of what the jury saw. Although I don't see any situation where Brandy makes it to the final two in the first place.
Mm.
I feel like she'll go, and I feel like Mark has a better chance of getting to the final two, floating his way to the end there than Brandy does, because Mark will at least keep his mouth shut and make deals and go back on deals and do whatever it takes. Brandy will be in your face and she'll annoy enough people that they'll get rid of her.
Yeah, she's definitely just in just her personality, the way she carries herself. She's one of those people that she's what I expected as somebody who was on Real Housewives before. So it doesn't really surprise me, but she's kind of that type of person, in my opinion, that she doesn't even have to say a word. Just the way she walks and the way she looks at you and stuff gives you kind of an impression of yo, what did I do to you, bitch? Step off. What up? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and it's funny too, because I sometimes we'll see, watching the feeds, and I'll forget that it's her, because she's two different people, one with makeup, one without makeup.
Yeah.
And I think I speak for all of us when I say keep the makeup on 24/7, because it's a little too much going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the Bowl Arena competition. First of all, the crazy dizzy one, the throwback from Big Brother 15 that got everybody puking their guts out. I'm thankful for one that I never got to do this competition, because one of my worst things is vertigo and spinning around and around and around. Omarosa in this competition gets knocked out first, and then has the terrible asthma and then has to go to the doctor. Omarosa having to go to the hospital, do you think that in a way, because she was obviously on everybody's radar after that vote flip, do you think that this is in a weird way kind of something that could be beneficial to her and an angle that she could work?
It worked for Christmas on Big Brother 19. It's not worked for Omarosa. No, there's still too much. There's still too much there with her. She, as you saw, she got nominated. Still, Ross felt bad about it. She was in the hospital. Okay, and I got a lot to say about that.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, come on, she got the first week of safety. She gets to go to the hospital. It's funny, because I guarantee you, if she would have won that round, she would have been fine. But it was so easy, because Marissa fell and was gasping. And at that point, it was just so convenient for her to play up her asthma.
So you think she was making a big show of it and really trying to do it to not make herself as big of a target, or?
I think it was, all eyes on me. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm Omarosa, look at me.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I don't think that it was, actually, no, I think it was premeditated. I think as soon as she lost, she was like, okay, how do I play an angle to make myself not seem so dangerous? And, yeah.
I think honestly, whether or not it was a play on her behalf or not, I think just the fact that she has that past reputation of being somebody who is so cunning and so cutthroat, like her reputation was on her times on The Apprentice and then The Celebrity Apprentice. When you walk into this in a Celebrity Edition, I feel like it's kind of like when veterans are coming into the game and playing with newbies, and you played with veterans. People have sort of a preconceived notion of who you are because they saw you play. Is that how you saw it when you played Big Brother 13 and you saw Jeff and Jordan, Brendan, Rachel, and so on?
You know what? It definitely was it wasn't just 6 other players. It was 6 players that, I said it, as soon as they walked in the door, it wasn't just 6 random players. It was 2 people that have won. It was, Brendan and Rachel, who were a dominant duo while they were in the house. It was, Danielle, who came in second place on her season, who won more competitions than the winner of her season. So it wasn't just, like, oh my God, I'm competing against people that have, fared okay on the show before. So the fact that I did know who they were, and it did accelerate it. So, with Omarosa being the big personality that she is, and Brandy being the big personality that she is, like, these preconceived notions, not just from us as fans, but of the other players, it definitely does not bode well for these people, because if they're trying to shed that, but as we see, like, that's the one thing about Big Brother. You can't hide who you are. You cannot hide who you are playing Big Brother. It just comes out. So, the fact that Omarosa is such a, big personality, there was no way that she was going to be able to bite her tongue and just go in the background.
Yeah, 100%. There's just way too much downtime in there. You get bored so quickly that things eventually will percolate and your true self will eventually come out, no question. I want to talk about James a little bit now. James was somebody who right away I thought made a terrible first impression in the game. He obviously was able to get enough votes, flipped around at the last minute. How do you see James's position in the house right now? And how well do you think he's going to do moving forward?
Well, okay, let's face it. He stayed not because he did a great job of convincing people. He stayed because Shannon wanted to get back at Omarosa and Keisha. That's it. That's it. James, that's the only reason why James stuck around. He was not even like really campaigning hard. But I do feel like the fact that he did get saved week one, most of the time people that like don't go home the first week end up going pretty far, because you kind of feel like, oh well, he had a chance to go after them, but then that first week everybody else starts fighting with each other, and something that they kind of alluded to tonight, but it's so true. Like, Big Brother really does not start until that first person is evicted. Mm-hmm. Because up until that point, all you have from people are their words. And that first vote comes down, you actually have people's actions. So do their actions back up their words? So I feel like, again, that's what makes it so good for people that survive that first eviction, because then they're not thought of again as a threat for a while, because everybody else is starting to go after each other. Although James does have this cocky ass attitude, which for now, is not threatening, but I think he'll be a target sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think he came into it not really in one of the 2 or 3, in my opinion, that wasn't really interested in playing the game. He seems like he's going on the show more so to just selfishly plug all of his other stuff with his band and, the show that he was on that basically nobody had ever heard of, all due respect to Nickelodeon. It's not the top network that everybody sits and watches, but
hang
on a second. Go ahead.
Hold on, let me stop you right there.
Yes,
because,
sir.
As somebody who works in the music industry,
okay,
Big Time Rush were huge, and
what is huge? Define huge for a musical act like that.
I mean, they were selling
Backstreet Boys and NSYNC huge, or what?
Not quite that level, but definitely for a generation that is way younger than both of us.
Okay.
Because again, I distributed Big Time Rush CDs while working for Sony Music, and I have a few friends who I had to get the new CDs every time they came out, give it to their kids, both boys and girls. He does have a pretty big fan base, which is the fan base that Big Brother wants, mm-hmm. which is the, at this point, maybe 14, 15, 16-year-olds. So, while we might not have known who he was, while everybody in the house might not have known who he was, there are a lot of people watching this that know who he is.
Breaking news, Adam, the heavy metal lover, has gone soft on each and every one of us. This is unbelievable. I did not see this coming for the life of me, Adam. Very BTR, interesting.
BTR, man. It's all about the BTR.
All about the BTR. That's what it is. So another one that has kind of dropped off and is on the lower of the totem pole is the person joined at the hip with Omarosa, and that is Keisha Knight Pulliam. How do you think Keisha played her first HOH, and what's her position like right now?
You know, it was so easy for her when she got the recast to just stand still. Like okay, she did make the nominations, but I felt like she was in good shape. Like she, again, did not have to make that deal with Chuck. She did not have to make that deal with Chuck. And I feel like that's why she's in this mess that she's in the first place. She will be the casualty, and I will bet a lot of money, but not all my money. But I have a feeling she will be the one going home tomorrow night. I have a feeling that somehow Omarosa is going to stay around, and Keisha's going to go home, and she's going to be the victim. She's going to get Omarosa. Like she's
Omarosa.
Yeah, she's going to get, brought down, working with her. I think we saw that on The Apprentice, Celebrity Apprentice, like, people that worked with her, like, she'll throw them under the bus. She'll do whatever she has to do to save herself. And yeah, I feel like Keisha is not going to want to go against her and be afraid to, like, talk against Omarosa. So kind of will get bullied into going home.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that Keisha's somebody that, even though she did take over that head of household and made those moves, Shannon was the one getting all the blood on her hands. But she's done sort of the cardinal sin which is like being too close and spending too much time with one person in Omarosa. And we saw even Omarosa, I think it was she talked to Shannon about like, hey, my thing with Keisha is more than just an alliance thing. It's a cultural thing. It's a bond sort of thing. So that's not something that Omarosa and Keisha want to be like saying out in the open to people, because the more people think, first off, when you're observing everybody else, you notice who is sleeping together, who is talking, having a good time, and stuff like that. But you don't want to just outwardly say that too much. Is Keisha's undoing just being too loyal to somebody who, from the very beginning, was going to have a target on her back?
Yeah, and what's funny is the conversation that they were having when they were comparing Donald Trump to Bill Cosby. You kind of saw Keisha kind of like, not wanting to be too close with Omarosa, but then, this just brought them together, and I don't know. Like I feel like, again, like she did not play her cards well. She could have done this so much better. She should have really kept her mouth shut last week and just gone with the flow and not gotten the blood on her hands. And now she finds herself in harm's way. Yeah, like I said, her making that deal with Chuck. And again, that's the one thing about Big Brother. If you're going to make a deal with somebody, don't tell somebody else about it. Don't tell somebody else about it. And don't involve somebody if you don't, again, like Keisha's fault if she goes home is because she trusted Omarosa. She told her about the deal that she made with Chuck. And Omarosa told Shannon, and Shannon flipped the vote. So
yeah, and that's a good point. And also, like, Keisha, I'm kind of torn with Keisha because I feel like she's somebody who I expected absolutely nothing from her going in. I did a cast breakdown with McRae, and he was like, yeah, there's no chance she's going to have the perfect record. I guess she's been, like, first off on most reality shows that she's been on, including Celebrity Apprentice. So he figured that it was just going to be a clean sweep. So at least she doesn't have that going for her. But she came into it, I thought, like, she doesn't even care. She's talking about, like, I need to be a good example for my kids and all this other stuff. So she is, she's been a bit of a surprise to me in the fact that she was playing more aggressively than I thought. But at the same time, I do think that her going against who she talked about in her pregame is going to come back to bite her. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think she's the number one target, at least from what we've seen thus far, but all it takes is like the wrong person winning the power of veto, and then it's like, well, if Omarosa is off the block for some reason, who else are they going to get rid of? They're going to want to cripple Omarosa, right?
Yep, and that's it. That's who you go after. But yeah, if someone happens like Meta wins and takes Omarosa down, which I don't know why he would do that, but at the same time, who knows, because he's such a wild card. Or you might have a little birdie, whisper in someone's ear about why it's good to keep Omarosa around, and they'll have a last second flip on that. But that eviction is tomorrow night, so it's gonna happen pretty quick.
Yeah, and lastly, the one we haven't touched on, and the one that's kind of been probably the most invisible on the first few episodes of the season, has been Ariadna. Ariadna, honestly, I have no idea what her strategy is going into it. I have no idea. She seems to be in good. I don't see her name being mentioned a lot, but I don't see her getting a lot of diary room time right now. I mean, the one thing I can remember of her thus far is her doing a little muscle flex when they're talking about the All-Girls Alliance. But how would you assess Ariadna's game thus far, and how would you assess her position in the house?
And as one, I could say she's a classic floater. She's a classic floater. She has no idea what's going on. She's there. They're keeping her around as a vote. She'll be somebody to final 5 or 6 that, they'll have to oh, well, we got to get rid of somebody this week. She is, but you don't see her starting conversations. You don't see her even contributing when she's in the conversation. She's just like okay, that sounds good, kind of person. And you know what, somebody like that could surprise us, just because as the further along you get in the game, you never know what'll happen. But I definitely see her as an easy out, a double eviction casualty that just have to nominate 2 people, and oh well, hey, everybody's got to go at some point.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is ever going to be threatened by Ariadna personally at any stage of the game, but she seems like the classic sort of, in my opinion, a Brittany Haynes type of person who is on Big Brother 12 and is just kind of not self-aware about any of the dynamics of anything going on in the house. And I said this from the beginning, and so I guess I'm not really all that surprised with her. I said that she was going to be someone that if you can bring her in, she could be a number for a side, but I don't think she would ever have the self-awareness to realize, hey, I'm number 4, I'm number 5 in this, and you need to be in the top 2 to have a shot at the money. Do you think that Ariadna could surprise us and potentially, at some point, make a move and move herself to the top of an alliance somewhere?
No. Just no.
Zero. Just now. No. Plain and simple. No chance whatsoever. I would 100% agree with you on that. So I guess going into, first off, I guess nominations, pretty straightforward, pretty obvious nominations in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, Ross is just going to have an easy week as long as one of them does not win veto, or someone else doesn't win veto and pulls them off. If he hasn't put up a third person, man, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he even knows what he's going to do. A renom sort of situation. But it was an easy week. It's an easy HOH for him. He does not need to complicate it.
What is the smartest move in the hypothetical event that Omarosa or Keisha do win the veto? Who goes up in that spot?
Honestly, I think the best thing for him to do would put up Mark. Although, now that I said that out loud, the girls might take that as an opportunity to get rid of a number, even though they want her gone. I don't know. I'm trying to think who else he could put up.
You don't think do you think Meta? Because Meta's been talking about self-evicting every single time. He's talked about it more than Nikki did in the first 2 weeks of the game. Is Meta somebody that is going to come back at Ross and be like, yo, I'm gunning after you now?
No,
I don't know.
I feel like if he gets put up, again, that's someone. If I could liken it back to my season, when Lawan said "put me up," and if somebody ever says "put me up," and you don't send them home, then that's the worst thing you could do. That's the worst thing you can do, because we saw Dr. Will do that, and Dr. Will ended up winning and then coming damn close the second time. So if anybody ever says "put me up," and they're on the block, send them home.
But
again,
were you not, Adam? Were you not shocked to death, like all of us were, sitting at home when Lawan did not get a superpower? Did your jaw just drop and like, wait, he's not coming back?
No, I knew something was weird. It's like something just did not seem right. And then when us as the players talked it through, if we would have made the vote 3-3, we were not convinced that Kalia was going to vote out Lawan over Rachel. Mm-hmm. But I just something just never felt right in that whole situation. Like, I didn't like the way that they worded it. Like, have the chance to come back, and but like I just felt like back to the original point. If anybody ever says vote me out and you don't vote them out, that's your bad.
Absolutely.
So I feel like Ross cannot take that chance by putting up Meta, because if he does, there's a chance that he can go. So I feel like he would have to put up one of his own. He'd have to put up like a Marissa, or he'd have to put up. He couldn't put up Shannon because that's too big of a target. But you'd have to figure out who the best pawn is. And this season, let's face it, there's no such thing as a pawn this season.
No, yeah, when there's this few amount of people in the game and it's such a sped up version, there's no question. There's not really, even though it's always going to be talked about, there is no pawn. Omarosa, from her perspective, having the gigantic target that she has on, is her best play to call out Shannon and keep that rivalry going so that it keeps everyone else safe? Or does Omarosa have another angle where she can stay come eviction tomorrow?
No, she'll definitely, she'll figure something out. She'll figure out something to say to convince these people, or a little birdie will whisper in someone's ear about why it's important for her to stay.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Fair enough. All right. And what about Keisha? Does she have any sort of a hope? Does she have an angle if she is up against Omarosa? Because from my perspective, the way I'm looking at it, Omarosa is a giant target. She hasn't publicly done, like, say, a Godfrey or one of those people, or Dallas calling out Jared in my season, or one of those things. She hasn't publicly been like your public enemy number one in those words, but it seems pretty obvious to the rest of the house that Omarosa wants Shannon and nobody else but Shannon. So is that is there an angle for Keisha beside when somebody does that move, and is that the best move for Omarosa?
Keisha's gonna have to put her big girl pants on and actually campaign against Omarosa and just say, like, hey, keep me around, at least give me a chance to, fight again. Like, getting rid of her is better for the house. So Keisha will pull out, she'll pull out every stop that she has. Unfortunately, Omarosa is a little bit more threatening, a little bit more bullyish, and might be able to get her point across better. But Keisha just has to stay on the fact of, like, do you want to continue to live in hell with this woman here, and then let's all fight it out as like real competitors, and then let's see what happens from there. Yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see, definitely, who ends up emerging. I kind of tend to be on your side of this thing. I personally, if I'm in the house, I want to steer clear of Omarosa, but I also want her around as well, especially if she is publicly calling somebody else out and making it and seems very obvious that it's that person. Then I don't know why you, in a shortened version or in a longer version, you would not want somebody like that in the house. But that's just one way of playing the game. So
Yeah, no, I mean, if Keisha stays, you don't know who she's going to go after. Omarosa stays, you know exactly who she's going after.
100%, 100%. All right, well, that is going to do it for this edition of the podcast. Thank you so much for Adam for joining me on this. Adam, for people who want to follow you, for people who want to check out what is going on in the life of the Baconator, Adam Poch, how can they do so?
Twitter at Heavy Metal Teddy. And then if you are in the greater Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa area this coming weekend, I will be at the Blue Ribbon Bacon Festival. This is their 11th year of doing it. This is my 5th year going back to Iowa, the biggest bacon event in the world. And it's an honor for me to be out there every year as a bacon ambassador. I also will be judging all the food there, and I will be judging the Bacon Queen competition. It's a fun time. At Heavy Metal Teddy on Twitter, at Bacon Guru BB13 on the Instagram. I'm not big on the Instagram, but Bacon Guru BB13. And then and then look for me, just popping up during Big Brother season, talking about Big Brother.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, it was an honor to have you on the podcast. If you guys liked what you saw, feel free to give me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to comment in the section below. I will be back next Thursday to chat with Big Brother 19 alumnus Cameron Hurd. We'll be breaking down Celebrity Big Brother and what's been going on since the Sunday episode. So tune in for that. You can follow me at JoelBBCan. You can check me out on Instagram at JoelBBCan4 and Joel Lefebvre on Facebook as well. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Adam, and we will talk to you guys again soon. Toodles!